What's going on, Falcon fan? This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Today is Falcon Fan Talk Wednesday, the Kirk Cousins of it all. And we're going to talk about NFL rule changes. And then at the end, we'll talk about some of the 30 visits that the Atlanta Falcons have had with some of the draft prospects going up here in the end of the month, the 24th, the 2025 NFL Draft. So, guys, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to this channel. Please hit the notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys out here that I talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can hear me come and talk about these Atlanta Falcons. So, guys, right into it. Of course, we know that this is the owners meeting that's going on this week. We heard from head coach Raheem Morris, also heard from Arthur Blank as well, and they both talked about Kirk Cousins. And I know if you guys like me, at some point in time, hope we can go ahead and move on from this situation with Kirk Cousins. Um, you know, it seemed like it's like who's at fault here, and looking at what the Atlanta Falcons did last year, and I think if you listen to what Mr. Arthur Blank had to say, kind of summed it up, right? The whole idea was when they brought Kirk Cousins in was to have him come in and stabilize the position. Atlanta Falcons since the Terry Fontenot era, coming in the general manager, the quarterback position has not been stable, right? That was in Matt Ryan's twilight years. Didn't have a lot of weapons to put around him. And then the next following year, they decided to make the trade. We know, they tried to trade for Deshaun Watson. You know, thanks to the football gods, that did not happen. But it kind of messed up the relationship between Matt at the time, and he asked to be traded. They traded him to the team, to the destination he wanted to go to. But you can see the writing on the wall. Matt, was kind of going towards the end of his career. What's going on, Kevin? And that's what happened with that. So you go over the years. We brought in Desmond Ritter, we brought in Marcus Mariota, right? And they was trying to figure out this quarterback position. So Atlanta Falcons kind of doubled down last year, right? They went and signed Kirk Cousins to $108 million contract. Everybody's excited. If you go back and look at everybody take when Kirk Cousins, most of the people was really excited about that. Even you look at the Atlanta Falcons, page and everything. Everybody excited because this is a guy that was one of the most accurate quarterbacks. He's probably well, had a really good track record of being a proficient quarterback, and he fit the system that was coming in with new offensive coordinator Zach Robinson, right? And if you look at over the first 9 or so games, he looked like the guy that they wanted, right? The fan base had really ingratiated got to know Kirk Cousins. He's doing the swag surf and everything in the stadium. You have that big game where he broke Matt Ryan record on Thursday night football game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everything was going good, right? Um, Now you go to that New Orleans Saints game, and that's when it all went downhill from there. Um, Took a big hit. From that point on, we could see the downward spiral from his play. We find out now he might have been injured, but did not know that because he was never on the injury report during the whole time. You listen to the coaches, you listen to what Terry Fontenot had to say after the season. That you listen to Kirk Cousins during the season, he was not injured, right? Lo and behold, Super Bowl weekend, he said he was. So we're not going to rehash that. But at the same time, you know, um, that's what the downward spiral. So the plan was to let Michael Penix sit for 1 or even maybe 2 years. That's was the original plan, right? If you look at the contract, how it was structured, that's exactly what they had decided to do, right? They paid him most of the money in 2024, 2025. They owe him 27 million. Then that roster bonus that was going to hit in 2026 was only $10 million. So most of that guaranteed money was going to be gone from Kirk Cousins going into this season anyway. So, they would have had to make a decision to go to Michael Penix. It wouldn't have been as bad. Um, as most people looking at 4 years, $180 million. That's the number. So a lot of teams, the team was to take him, and if they don't decide to restructure his contract, he still get some of that money. Now, most of that money is not guaranteed anymore. Only things guaranteed is left will be their $10 million, and they will be on the hook for that. But listening to Arthur Blank, and what his conversation was with Kirk Cousins, it sounded like he did most of the listening, right? That's pretty much how he worded it. That he listened to Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins expressed that he wanted to, go have opportunity to play for another team. Sounds like he wanted the Atlanta Falcons to cut him, right? But he also had to have an understanding that he was under contract, and for the Atlanta Falcons just to cut him and still owe him all that money, right? That would have not been smart on the franchise part. So, you know, his understanding of what he wanted to do and how he felt about it, and maybe he even expressed of competing against Michael Penix Jr. this year, and saying that he would have an opportunity to want to start here for the Atlanta Falcons. But I think the choice had already been made. It was moving forward with Michael Penix, so that was not a discussion. Um, and I think Arthur Blank let him get his say out, but at the same time, at the end of the day, they're going to do what's best for the Atlanta Falcon organization, in which they have to. Right? He signed a contract, you know, and the contract doesn't say you're going to sign as a starter. Just say we signing you, to 180 million dollars for 4 years, right? Now, with that kind of money, yes, you will assume that you're going to be the starting quarterback. So, I'm not trying to insinuate that, he wasn't supposed to be the starter. However, he's on the contract, and like a lot of people thinking that they're doing Kirk so wrong and things like that. Well, also in his contract, he got a no trade clause, right? So he kind of tying the Atlanta Falcons hand as well, because if any trade does need, occur, he has to sign off on it. So that means he's going to still get to go to his destination of his choice and things like that. So I just think it sounded like it was a good conversation. They both heard each other out. But at the end of the day, I think Arthur Blank expressed to him that, they're going to do what's best for the organization. Now, if you're looking at Kirk Cousins, if he does come back, I have expressed this so many times that if Kirk Cousins do come back to the Atlanta Falcons, I do believe that he will be a pro. He will help Michael Penix out, and he'll be the best, probably backup quarterback in the NFL. That's just the honest truth about the whole thing, um, because of his track record. Yeah, not saying the last 9 games that he played, but before that, over the 13, 14-year season that he had, you could believe in, his track record and what kind of quarterback he's going to be. So if, Atlanta Falcons don't get a trade partner, I think they're cool with, having Kirk Cousins be the backup quarterback. Because now when I think about it, you start look around the landscape of the quarterback pool is out there for the veterans. If Kirk Cousins does get traded, who's going to be your backup? That's what you got to start thinking. You got to start thinking that way as well, because you don't want to wish anything bad on any player. But if Michael Penix was to sustain an injury, now we don't have a backup quarterback, and then pretty much the season be shot from there. So, having a good solid backup quarterback is not a bad thing. Um, However, I think Kirk Cousins still has an opportunity to be traded. Right now, it's looking like the only team that he probably would go to is the Cleveland Browns. You look at their quarterback situation; they got Kenny Pickett over there, um, and I don't believe that they would consider him being a long-term solution. I mean, I don't think they'll consider Kirk Cousins being a long-term solution as well. So, um, if they decide to go with one of the two talented players in the draft that's non-quarterback and a dual Carter and Travis Hunter, then in that case they would go the route of trying to trade for Kirk Cousins. And even if they do sign a quarterback, they still could trade for Kirk Cousins, because he could be that bridge. With that being understanding that Kirk Cousins have an understanding that he's coming in, you're going to be the starter, but you're not a long-term fix. And I don't know if that's something that he wants to be part of, right? When he expressed what he wanted to do in Atlanta, he wanted to retire here. So, fortunately, that's not going to be the case. Of course, Michael Penix is taking over the realm of the Atlanta Falcons, and the I mean, this situation, I believe it's going to get figured out, um, either right before the draft or after the draft. That's when I think the situation is going to get sorted out. I think him and Aaron Rodgers both are making that determination. Aaron Rodgers trying to see how desperate the Pittsburgh Steelers are. Are they going to even draft a quarterback at all? And the drafting in, he has all the leverage in, because if they don't get a quarterback in the draft now, they really got to depend on Aaron Rodgers come back, or they're gonna have to roll with Mason Rudolph, and I don't think they want to do that. So I think him and Kirk Cousins are waiting it out, until after the draft to see, what kind of leverage they can get. I think if the Cleveland Browns draft a quarterback, Kirk Cousins will be like, maybe I don't want to go through that again. The situation he just came through with Michael Penix looking over his shoulder, right? So that's the way it is. I mean, you do have to tip, like I said, he's a professional. I think out of all the situations where you would think it would be, chaotic and things like that, I don't think it would be that way. I don't think Kirk Cousins would come in and try to sabotage the Atlanta Falcons. Kind of did with the injury thing, but I think he just wanted to play him. He didn't want to relinquish his starter role to Michael Penix. That's why he tried to play with injury. But I think he'll help with the game plan. I think he'll get Michael Penix ready to go, and I think he'll be a really good teammate. So if they don't trade him, I think he's going to be the most expensive backup quarterback, you know, in the league. And that's pretty much what it boils down to. Terry says, why did Kurt go over to Terry and Morris to talk over to the Godfather, Martha Blank? He was trying to be. Hey, that's a good point. That's a good point, 100%. Yeah, and and I'm pretty sure Arthur Blank has an open door policy, but I don't think he would under the head coach, and the general manager. He does not work like that. He's not Jerry Jones. He's not Robert Kraft. He doesn't really meddle in the football decisions, and that's why when he fires them on decisions they make, right? Because if you making decisions as the owner, and then you go out and fire your GM and head coach because some decisions you made, it's not a good look. And if you know anything about Arthur Blank, he uses his business acumen, to the how he runs the NFL, his NFL team as well. And I do believe that he empowers his GM and his head coach to make those decisions, right? He's here to get on all the resources, the money, and things like that. Of course, you have to sign off on the money, right? That's 100%. But I think it was no point in time that, when he listened to Kirk Cousins, that he was going to be like, yeah, we're going to overrule what Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris has consistently been saying. That's pretty much consistent with the GM and the coach been saying for the entire time. So I definitely don't believe that he would have undermined those guys. But he probably did have an open door policy. So going to talk to Mr. Arthur Blank, I don't think it worked. It seemed like obviously it did not work because they guaranteed the $10 million for next year, and he's still on the roster right now. So that's the way it is. He said Curtis no Aaron Rodgers, not on the same level. Yeah, not the old Aaron Rodgers. I think a 41-year Aaron Rodgers. I, I I say they about the same. Be honest with you. If you're looking at Aaron Rodgers, yes, the one that won the four NFL MVPs, I would agree with you. But right now, Aaron Rodgers not the same Aaron Rodgers. So, I honestly I say they the same guy. Be honest with you, because I don't think Aaron Rodgers is mobile he used to be. We know Curry's not, so I think they the same guy. Be honest with you. Aaron might have a little bit more of a live arm, but not so much. So that's pretty much what I got to say. Now you listen to what Coach Raheem Morris had to say. Um, he pretty much just said it simple. He knows Kurt want to be a starter, but they're gonna wait and see if they can work out for both parties, the Atlanta Falcons and Kirk Cousins. And if it does, that's what he wants. Does not expect Kirk Cousins to be at OTAs I wouldn't expect him to be there anyway because for all intents and purposes, it's Michael Penix's team. Um, he can come, get a good workout in. It's voluntary, so if he does not show up, just like a lot of veteran players do not show at OTAs, I don't think you need to look into it. How people try to make a big deal about things like that. OTAs are voluntary. Only thing you start to think about, you get into the mandatory mini camps and then the training camp. That's when you start to look at guys and they don't show up. But OTAs, I mean, all the OTAs that Atlanta Falcons have, not one time do Kirk Cousins have to show up because they are all voluntary. Now, be a team leader, be a team player. Yes, most of the times. I expect guys like Leonard Floyd to be there. All the new signees like Devon Diablo, Jordan Fuller. I expect those guys to probably be there, because they want to get to know their teammates and things like that. And you build camaraderie, and stuff, things like that. So I do expect those guys to be there. Kirk Cousins, he could surprise us all and be there as well, but you don't have to be there. And I don't think it would be a slight to the Atlanta Falcons if he did not show up. If he did show up, or did not show up, excuse me. So that's what I would think when you're looking at a guy like Kirk Cousins. Unfortunately, he hurt himself in options with his play. 100%, man. I mean, 1 touchdown, 9 interceptions on that 5-game stretch, which is terrible. It really was. It was bad. It was. They had to make a choice. They had no chance, man. They had to make the change. They had no choice whatsoever. You couldn't see improvement. You wasn't going to see improvement. You go back to that Monday night game against the Las Vegas Raiders and how bad he looked. The rest of the team looked really good, but the offensive passing game was non-existent. It really was, and it showed. The injury was hurting that bad. He definitely should have said something, but he did like a shell of himself. It seemed like he fell off a cliff like suddenly from week 9 on. Like, what happened? So it had to be an injury. But like I said, instead of manning up about it saying that he had an injury, why, put on the front and saying that you was good? Because he came out and emphasized that Tuesday he was on the injury report that it was just a walkthrough. He's not injured at all. You know what I'm saying? And you get guys playing through injuries. You understand things like that, but come on, man. Like, that was just ridiculous. So I don't think we're done with the Kirk Cousins, situation. I think we're going to be talking about it again. Hopefully, eventually, we'll talk about him moving on, getting traded, and see what the Atlanta Falcons, what kind of compensation they can get. Are the Atlanta Falcons going to be able to get some cap relief? Having a team pay partial of their salary, that would be ideal. And that could be the holdup right now as well, because Atlanta Falcons on the hook for the $27.5 million or per se, and the team might not want to pay none of that. So, but they don't want to eat the quarterback. So I feel like they're willing, and the Atlanta Falcons compromise on capital, draft capital there. Maybe giving up a 6th round, vice a 5th round, or 4th versus a 5th. I don't know, but at the same time, hopefully, we get some kind of resolution here soon. I anticipate, like I said, right before the draft or after the draft, where Kirk Cousins will be on the move, if he's going to be on the move at all. So that's what I think about the whole Kirk Cousins situation, and pretty sure we're going to talk about it again. I still think the fact that he was coming off a major injury slowed him down, and he just hit a wall. That could be the case, man. That's why he said like he feel like still being started. That's why he got to go out and prove it. That's why he should waive his no trade clause, and they can get that thing done. So definitely could be the case. All right, so stay tuned until the next turn of the Kirk Cousins saga. All right. Next thing is going to be the NFL rule changes that the owners voted on. this week. And how those rule changes affect what the Falcons be able to do. So the first rule change um, is the overtime rule. Now both teams get an opportunity to possess the ball, even if the team scores a touchdown. Right? That's the rule. Um, if a team scores a touchdown, pretty much the game is over. Now the Falcons lost both of their games last year to that rule. Remember, they lost to coin flip, and the last two games of the season, our defense let us down, and they scored a touchdown. Right? You go to the Super Bowl back in 2016. Um, Tom Brady won the flip, went down the field, scored a touchdown. The game was over. Right? That rule has not now changed. Right now, even if a team scores a touchdown, both teams will have an opportunity to possess the ball. So you're not leaving in the hands of you know defenses, you know, letting your team down, and then the other your quarterback don't even get an opportunity to get on the field. So your quarterback will get an opportunity to get on the field. Only caveat to this whole rule is that instead of having the 15 minutes on the clock, it's going to be 10 still. So the 10 minutes on the clock is still going to be on there. So if you got a team like the Commanders in the third quarter, in that game, they pretty much dominated the whole quarter. So, right, go back and look at the time possession that third quarter in that Commanders game. If something like that happened, you know, they'll run the clock out and we won't get the ball back anyway. So, that's the only caveat to it. Instead of having a 15-minute quarters, you're going to have just a 10-minute quarter. So you got to look at it in that sense that you still need to try to get your three and out and try to make something happen. So, you know, with that being said, the coin toss is not that as important as you would think it is anymore because both teams are going to get opportunity to possess the ball. If like I said, the team go out and score a touchdown, guess what? The other team have opportunity to match it. So, and after the 10 minutes, we all know it's probably going to be end up in a tie in the regular season. Of course, in the playoffs, it keep going probably. So that's how it would be. But that's the first NFL rule change. We got to look at the compliments before we get to the second rule change. Can you please talk about the fact that the entire league was early on talking to people and they're getting away with it and still kind of we're gonna get to that rule change in just a minute. Yep, we want to get to that rule change in just a minute. What's up, Millie Mills? He said, speaking of the rules, I'm not all for banning the tush push. If anything, the ban from throwing the ball out of that formation. So speaking of that rule, it was put on the table. So they did not vote on that rule this week. So it's been tabled. So right now the tush push is still to go, right? That rule only affect really two teams, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles who's mastered it. And I heard a stat that they was like 85% conversion rate on that. And if you match that 85% with any fourth down or third down percentages for any other team, it's more like 45 to 50% on those rates. And in that play for the Philadelphia Eagles is 85%. So you kind of can understand why teams want to get rid of it because they pretty much was guaranteed to get a first down or a touchdown, when they did that play. So but it's been tabled. So the tush push will not have be removed this year. It's been tabled, and we'll see what happens to it at another date. All right. The next rule that the Atlanta Falcons, I mean that could affect the Atlanta Falcons, is they expand the NFL replay assist, right? So this when the ref throws a flag, right? Teams will be able to get some kind of assistance from replay. You look at what happens in the UFL right now. They kind of you see what they do. They go back and they get assists from the rules analysts and stuff and look at the play and they kind of get a call on it, right? The only caveat to this, it's not everything that they're going to actually be looking at. So it's going to be on certain plays that where they can actually go back and look, and if a flag was thrown there, they can go back and get an assist and see what the actual flag. And these plays are a hit on the defenseless receiver, right? So the first one is a hit on the defensive receiver. We know how that is. It's still football, so you got to go look at it, because sometimes when a dude get hit hard, they automatically throw a flag. If it was a clean hit, with the shoulder and there's a strike zone, they hit him in the head or anything like that, it's a good hit. So I like, being able to, to challenge that and look at it. Um, Grabbing the player by the face mask. If you call, it was a couple of seasons ago where in a game where a guy face mask got grabbed, and it kind of ended the game, but the ref didn't throw a flag. Now the ref don't throw a flag. Guess what? It's still just a face mask. They got to throw it. They have to throw a flag. And in some cases, you'll see a player grab a guy right here and his head will turn, and they'll throw a penalty for a face mask, but he didn't even grab the face mask. So if they throw a flag and if it's incorrect, they will change that call. So these are some good things. Performing the horse collar tackle, tripping and running into the roughing the kicker. Although, so the horse collar tackle, they're gonna look at that, make sure that he actually grabbing the horse collar, right? Tripping, and then running and running rough for the kicker. So all those plays get recalled. But like I said, the caveat, the flag has to be thrown. So it's not like you thought they did it and they didn't throw a flag. They have to throw the flag. So if they throw a flag on those plays, and I'm talking about again, defenseless receiver grabbing the face mask, horse collar tackle, tripping, and running to or roughing the kicker. Those are the plays that if the ref throws a flag, they can be looked at it from the replay and get assist from higher up to determine if the call was right. Right. So you still don't get looked at if you're roughing the quarterback. They was like, we don't care. Don't hurt the quarterback. So they're not even gonna look at that play. Pass interference, still not looking at that. So some of the plays that we think that could be, suspect, like a pass interference or roughing the passer, those are not anything that can get replayed. So just those plays I called out. So, but the ref has to throw the flag. So those are the NFL rules. And then the last rule is the roughing the kicker. You think about that. Um, that's the big penalty because you got running into the kicker, you got roughing the kicker. So I'm glad they looking at that. Usually they look at that plant leg when you're talking about roughing the kicker and things like that. So that's one of the good things to look at. I like looking at that play. All right. Let's see. Millie Mill says Eagles been doing that play for the last 2 years and nobody got hurt, yet it was harmful as other teams are making it to be. I don't think it. Honestly, I don't think it had anything to do with the injury, because they looked at the statistics. It had nothing. I think it's just they can't stop it, man, and they feel like it's a disadvantage. I mean, one thing it is kind of for the Eagles, right? Because they got like the biggest offensive line in the league. All their guys over 320 pounds. They got big, strong quarterback, and then somebody pushing them. So it's not fair, but it's if you don't like it, stop it. So, but I don't think it had anything to do with injuries. I just think the fact that they can't stop that play. It's just simple as that. Right now, let's talk about our NFL rule change that's really interesting, and that's what they call the hawk eye cameras for measuring first down. So everybody remember the controversial call with Josh Allen and the Kansas City Chiefs last year when it looked like he got the first down. They said he didn't get it, and now if you guys know, if you ever watch tennis, right? You look at tennis, and when the ball hits the line, and the player want to challenge, they can look at the Hawkeye view and see where the ball actually hit, right? So that's where they're going to be utilizing the Hawkeye camera vision. I think this right here is going to help a lot of teams out to help be the game be more fair. And it should be really quick because once they spot the ball, you just look at the Hawkeye view and see where it's at, and it's a done deal. The change game still be on the sideline, but they'll be there for backup. But this is technology, man. This is AI, right? This artificial intelligence is helping us be more, accurate when you're calling games. So especially when you start talking about sports betting and things like that. So I think this is a good rule to put in. You want to get the game right. Can't challenge everything. Yeah, I think you go back to like looking at like pitching, right? And they saying, well, can we just get the AI to look at where the pitchers, because the ump been calling strikes. You have to get used to that strike zone, because sometimes some umpire strike zone is real narrow, and then some is real wide, right? You just got to get to know who those guys are. So, but if they were to bring that in, it'd be more accurate baseball now, because either the striker is not strike, right? You can look at it from the Hawkeye vision. And I do think they get challenges right now, like 2 pitches or something like that. So, but I think this is going to help, right? And like I said, it'll stop the controversy thinking that the refs trying to cheat the other team, because you don't have to worry about that anymore, right? So, I think that's a good rule. I don't think Atlanta Falcons had any situations last year where they didn't get it, or a team got it and it looked like it was unfairly called or something like that. So I don't think we had to worry about stuff like that. So I mean, that's just the truth of it all. But I think this is going to be a good rule. I like it. I like it. Like I said, you watch tennis and you see when the player be like, I think that was in. And then they was right, because he just hit that white line. Just so it only have to hit the white line just a little bit, and it's in, right? And then it shows where sometimes it be right out and they missed it. So it's going to be. I think it's going to work well for all the teams, including our Atlanta Falcons. He says, I say put the kicker penalties into one. So no matter what's the roughing the kicker, slow the fuck down. Yeah, I mean, I agree. If you run into the kicker, roughing or run into it, it should be the same penalty. I agree with you on that, because that shit hurt, man. I don't know, just because you didn't hit his plant leg. If you run into a kicker, that's not gonna hurt, because he's trying to kick the ball. He ain't concentrating. He got the leg up in the air and everything. It's going to be the same. No challenge in the last 2 minutes. Yeah, that's probably gonna be the same. I mean, I think our challenges happen in the last 2 minutes anyway. So, but remember, they can't challenge in like roughing the passers and things like that. So those are rules, in my opinion, I think cost games more. Look at a pass interference, right? You throw the ball down the field, you get a pass interference at the 1 yard line. If they get the ball at the one, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. And then roughing the passer, I still go back to the Tampa Bay game when they called it roughing the passer on Grady. I'm still pissed about that. So yeah, but all the other penalties, that they call, they can look at those in the last 2 minutes. And of course, now we know all scoring and turnovers go back to the booth anyway. So they don't nobody have to challenge scores and turnovers. And then the last rule, guys, is the kickoff rule, right? Instead of now touchbacks being at the 30-yard line, it's going to be at the 35-yard line, right? And man, that's half of the field, man. Like, especially got kickers some days can kick so good. So if you get the ball at 35-yard line, man, you giving teams, a big cushion. So what they're trying to do is make kickers kick the ball into that strike zone where they can actually return the ball. They want to see more returns. It was an uptick in returns this year, right? And we had some big returns in some games. So some teams like, forget it, man, just get the ball at the 30. But now they're getting penalized an extra 5 yards for doing touchback. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Marquise Williams for Atlanta Falcons, coach that up, and how Raheem Morris want to coach. I would say that, when you got a dangerous returner back there, kick it out the end zone, man, because you don't want to take any chances. But team that's not known for returning kicks, let's see, can we pin them deeper in the 35-yard line? 35 is crazy. I mean, we went going from the 20-yard line always to 15 extra yards, 35. That's a big difference. You get a couple of first downs, you in field goal range. So I think it's going to incentivize more teams to try to hit that strike zone and and give up more returns. They're trying to bring the kickoff back, trying to bring excitement. But I can tell you, a lot of time coaches ain't gonna take some chances. When you got a dynamic returner back in the back, some coaches not gonna take that chance and kick the ball to them because you know it could go to the house, right? We got Jamal Agnew. I think he's a good returner. It's gonna be interesting to see what teams decide to do when they try to kick the ball to him. But it's I like the rule. It's just going to be now. It's like strategy comes into play, right? Do you try to do the coffins and try to hit that strike zone, and try to hit it to one side and try to determine them so you can try to set up your lanes? Because you remember the guys are like standing like 5 yards from each other. They're not running downhill full speed, right? And then a lot of times, you know, it's smaller guys out there now because they're trying to get between those spaces and stuff. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be really interesting to watch the strategy on this. Atlanta Falcons was like kind of towards the bottom last year. Where they kick a lot of field goals in the red zone or touchback, but a lot of times um, they keep it out as well. So it depends. I think it would depend on who they was playing against, and that's how they determine. And I think a lot of teams are going to do that. Like I said, if it's a dynamic returner in the back, they're not going to kick it to them. I just think that's how they're going to do it, and I think that's probably the best bet because once you get past that first line, right, all bets are off. Man. A good returner is going to take it to the house, man. So it's kind of scary. Like you look at the kid from Dallas, Turbin. That kid looking really explosive, man. Um, I don't know if teams want to kick it to that guy. So it's going to be interesting to see about that kickoff play. It's going to be the same, no challenging. Okay, we read that already. He said, "Oh my God, I just eliminate the kickoff." Nope. Oh, you said just eliminate the kickoff. Hey, they're trying to get kickoff returns. They want to see action, man. You're looking at it. They want to see action on the kickoff returns. That's what they want to see. And I think a lot of teams are willing to try to pin guys deep, right? 20, 15-yard line. You're kicking that strike zone, try to get back there and make the tackle, right? I think it's good strategy, and then sometimes, like I said, they're going to kick it out the end zone, and then they'll get the ball at the 35-yard line. So that's the way it's going to be. Say, good to see you back, Eddie Recondo. Rise up. That's right, man. Let's see here. We got to get a kicker that doesn't have a strong leg. That way, it would never go in the end zone. Hey, sometimes you want to go in end zone, man. Like I said, man, because you can also remember they can put two guys back there returning as well, too. So, pick your poison, who you want to kick it to. I think it's got to become some kind of science, man. Like I would try to kick it high, really. Well, they can't move into the count anyway, but I try to kick it in the corner somewhere so you can use the sideline as your ally, and that's what I'm talking about. Now that cutback lane could be really dangerous, but then everybody need to make sure they play their lanes and don't get out of it. But I would try to kick it towards on an angle in that strike zone and try to use the sideline as an extra defender. That's just me. That's how I would try to do it. But it's going to be interesting to see what the Atlanta Falcons and Marquise Williams decide to do in this situation. We're definitely going to need a uptick in the quality of special teams. 100%. Field goal kicking is one of the things that right now we really got to take notice of. Younghoe Koo was not good last year. He missed 12 kicks. That it was terrible. Like I said, if you looked at my last video, they brought in Lenny Craig, and he was outstanding in tryouts, but it's not like he was all world. You go look at some of his records. So he was still like 68% in his last league. So, it's going to be a good competition, but I don't know if Craig going to come in and actually unseat Younghoe Koo, right? Younghoe Koo was injured last year. He had a hip injury. Hopefully that's the reason why he was so ineffective with his kicks. But the competition is good in that position, and we got to be able to do that. What's going on, A1? What's going on? I ain't seen you in a long time, man. We got to chat it up, man. We got to chat it up. Hit me up so we can get together. As long as we get Felipe on the same team, we ain't giving up no returns. I forgot about Felipe Franks, man. I forgot about that. He's a good special teamer. He played over 70% of these snaps, special teams for the Carolina Panthers. So he has found a niche in the NFL, believe it or not, and that's one of them. He's a physical guy, being a former quarterback, still probably trying to learn the tight end room, whatever. But it seemed like he's a good teammate too. It seemed like they actually like him. So we'll see what Felipe. But believe some guys in this league have a 10-year career just being a special teamer. You look at Cardell Hodge, right? That's why he made his bones. Yes, he made some plays on the offense every now and then, but Cardell Hodge been in this league a long time because of what he does on special teams. Look at a guy like Mike Ford. So, you know, Kevin mentioned about upgrading our special teams. Well, they really invested in special teams this year. Probably to some people like, man, what are we doing? But you look at Mike Ford, you look at Felipe Franks, like I said, you look at signing back Cardell Hodge, you look at Jamal Agnew. All these guys are going to help special teams a lot. So we're definitely going to hopefully see improvement in special teams. I'm not this year, guys. I'm wait to see mode. I'm not saying what the Falcons are going to do because I don't know this year. To be honest with you. So yeah, hit me up, man. Who cost us at least 3 games last year? Yep. The one I'm mad about is the Aints game, man. Me and my buddies went to that game. I was talking mad junk in that game. And Younghoe Koo missed 3 field goals. And if he make 2, we win the game. I mean, it just sucked. But being down there in New Orleans, got to listen to all those Ain't fans talk all that crap, and he had never kicked that bad before. And why he waited to that game to have one of his worst games ever. So I just hate it, man. Everyone said you think any traction on Banks Jr. to the A. Who was that? Who is Banks? Give me more. I'm not sure who Banks is. I haven't been following that. I hope you're not talking about the offensive tackle. That's what you're talking about. Let's go over the last rule, real quick. And the last rule is now it was put out there by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now teams can actually talk to players during that two-day negotiation window before the new league year. Yes, the same rule that the Atlanta Falcons got penalized for last year when they talked to Kirk Cousins, Darnell Mooney, and Charlie Warner. Yes, that rule. So all of a sudden, it's legal to do it. They call it illegal tampering. Now it's not illegal anymore. So they passed it. So that 2-day negotiating window now is allowed that teams can talk to players and determine if they want to come with the team and don't get penalized for it. Unfortunately, they're not going to get Atlanta Falcons their draft pick back. They already set the draft. Everybody already got their pick, so they're not going to get Atlanta their draft pick back. We got screwed. Yes, we did. But I guess moving forward, it's allowed. It don't help us any. by doing that. But yeah, I thought you were talking about old tackle. You know, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say it's going to happen. It's not going to happen because Atlanta Falcons, man, they always zig when we think they're going to zag. It's just the way they do, right? And would I be surprised if the Atlanta Falcons take another offensive player in the first round of the draft? No. Would I be disappointed in the team? Yes. Yeah. So yeah, having a private workout with an offensive tackle, the GM, and the coach scares me. It really does. It really does. We heard last year that they sent a whole bunch of guys up to Washington to watch Michael Penix play, and we thought that was like whatever. And obviously, it was a big deal. So by them working out a private workout with an offensive tackle, kind of scares me a little bit. It really do. It really do. But so I wouldn't be surprised if they do it. I mean, I would love to hear this explanation. When we got one of the best offensive lines in the league, and you feel like we need to upgrade there instead of more in the defense. So I would want to really understand that. And I don't want to hear about, of the future and things like that. You just signed Jake Matthews to a big contract. If you're talking about, getting the right tackle, the opposite, Jake and for Caleb McGarry, I still don't get it. I'm sorry. I would not understand them going to get an offensive tackle, but I would not be surprised. So I would love to hear the explanation though. So yeah. And the only reason I wasn't, talking about it because I just don't want. I just can't see it, man. If they do that again, that'll suck. It really would. It would really suck. Should the push tush be outlawed? To the other 30 teams, they're going to say yes. The other 30 teams that do not use the tush push probably says yes. They probably says yes. I talked about it earlier, but honestly, when you think about the tush push, right? The advantage goes to the Eagles, right? Any play, any down and distance, you can go look up this. Third down, fourth down and 1. When you got an 85% success rate on that, man, that seems like it's an unfair advantage. When most teams that has a success rate of like 45 to 50 some percent, the success rate on third and fourth downs on 1, right? And the Philadelphia Eagles got like an 85% success rate on that. So it seems like an unfair advantage. So to other teams that do not use the tush push, I'm pretty sure they wanted to be outlawed. However, if you can't, you got to stop it, man. I mean, those guys, the offensive line is humongous. They got all the offensive lines over 320 pounds. They got a strong quarterback that can push those legs, and then he's getting pushed in the back. So it's an unfair advantage. So for other teams, I'll tell you what, if I was an Eagle fan, I'd be like, no, don't outlaw it. But any other team going to be like, yes, get rid of it. Because it's automatic most of the time. So that's why I say that. It's like you get it, but why? Yeah, you're right. By going to get an offensive tackle, I understand getting an offensive tackle, but man, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Do not disappoint us this year, please. Do not go get any defensive player, man. We don't care if you get an edge rusher, get a safety, a cornerback, defensive tackle. We don't care. You're in the 15 pick. It's going to be a good player there, a defensive player. But please don't draft an offensive player this year, man. That'll be 5 years in a row that Atlanta Falcons draft offensive player. I'm just saying, man. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. All right, guys. The last thing we're going to talk about is some of the 30 visits that the Atlanta Falcons have had so far. We're not gonna get into detail of about these guys. I'm talk about them later individually, but you know, just to give you an idea of where the Falcons head are at and the kind of guys that they have talked to. Now, this not everybody they talked to, but the 30 visit that's listed that's been reported so far, they have talked to the 8 defensive backs. 8 defensive backs. So it kind of give you where they're looking at. So they have talked to eight defensive backs. Some of those defensive backs they talked to is Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky. I talked about him. He was on one of my mock drafts. Of course, Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan. They talked to Zar Frazier out of UTSA. They talked to Corey Thornton out of Louisville. They talked to Malachi Starks, right? We kind of figured they liked him a lot. They talked to Corey Thornton. They talked to Nick Imanwari from South Carolina, safety. So those some of the defensive backs they talked to. So they have talked to 8 defensive backs so far that's been reported. 8 defensive backs so far. For as edge rushers go, they talked to 6 edge rushers. 6 edge rushers so far. So we know they're looking at edge rushers. We know they're looking at corner DBs, right? We know they're looking at DBs. Some of the edge rushers they have talked to. They talked to Q Robinson from Alabama, Shamir Stewart, of course. They talked to Mike Green. They talked to Bryce Bass. They talked to Elijah Roberts out of SMU. Like I said, Bryce Bass out of Texas State. They talked to Princely. Don't let me mess up his name. These guys have some long names. Umano Lineley. I messed it up. Sorry, guys. From Ole Miss, defensive end. So they talked to 6 edge rushers. They talked to 8 DBs. They talked to 4 linebackers. Right now, these are the needs that we was talking about. If you look at some of the needs that we was talking about, Atlanta Falcons need coming into the this year's draft, right? In this free agency, these some of the needs. So they talked to 8 DBs, 6 edge rushers, 4 linebackers. They talked to 5 offensive linemen, tackles, and centers. So be wary of that. They talked to 1 tight end. They talked to 1 quarterback. They talked to 2 receivers, 2 running backs. So that's the breakdown of the 30 visits, right? What I do like, I see a lot of defensive players that they have talked to. So it looked like they're leaning towards picking a defensive guy. But, when it comes to the big board and looking at the best player available, and they have really stuck to this sometimes to our dismay, right? Stuff that we don't like. And that's picking the best player available, right? I don't believe that it'll be an offensive lineman there. I'm just saying that I don't think it'll be an offensive lineman there at number 15, right? Hopefully it's either a DB or a defensive lineman, defensive tackle or edge rusher there. I think they need to be able to increase, the amount of talent on the defensive side of the ball. They just got to, because right now it's a little underwhelming, guys. It's just the truth. And the reason why it's so underwhelming because a lot of our guys are unknown, right? They got to prove themselves this year. They don't have that time on task to make us believe that they're going to be able to be good, right? We saw Rook roar in flashes last year that they give you some promise. We saw it, right? Brandon Dorlus, we barely seen him at all. Braylon Trice, we seen some flashes in training camp, but he didn't get an opportunity to play last year, right? We seen Armor Ebiketie come on towards the end of the season. Can he, build on that what he was able to do towards the end of the season, right? D'Angelo Malone, can he build on the little flashes that he showed, right? So the Atlanta Falcons need infusion of talent on the defense. It's just that simple. So the more guys they bring in on defense, right? Yes, these are going to be young guys. We need them to contribute early, but I think you just got to be able to put more talent out there, right? I talked about the turnover on this defense being about 35 to 25% turnover, and it seemed like that's going to be the case. You know, unfortunately, we lost Grady, right? So we're going to have to make up for that by committee. Um, we still got David Amiyata. And then, like I said, those young guys got to go out and prove themselves. It's just that simple. This is the head coach, Raheem Morris, talked about the coaching staff. He believes in those guys. They're going to be huge this year. The coaching staff and the development of these young guys, these draft picks that Terry Fontenot have picked over the last couple of seasons has to start to deliver, right? And that's what we need to see. So um, it's a little underwhelming, but the Atlanta Falcons need to draft the defensive guy. And looking at the 30 visits so far, the guys that's been reported, you like where their mindset is, right? You know, um, out of the offensive players that they did talk to, some of those guys are some of the best offensive players, even the offensive linemen. So um, you understand why you talk to those guys, but hopefully their mind is straight focused. Even Mr. Blank himself said that the focus probably should be defense this year. And to pick an offensive guy on their number 15 would really need some explanation from me. I'm sorry. Like, you have to explain it. I just I get the Michael Penix pick, even though if you guys recall my face in the last first 5 minutes of that pick after it was announced, total shock. But I get it. I understand a quarterback. I have been on this podcast numerous of times saying if you don't have a quarterback, it doesn't matter, right? So I get to picking a quarterback. But when it comes to, you know, this defense, they don't need to mess around with it. They need to get great players. They need to get promising players, right? You don't know what these guys are going to turn out to, but at least you're trying. We need to see some kind of effort here. So that's what I'm saying. I'm just throwing it out. Um, let's look at some of these comments before we get up out of here. Terry T said, Nightcap said Devin Watson, 465 pounds, was built to stop the tush push. That's what he said. That was his exact words. He was built to stop the tush push. Like I said, we talked about him on the show on Monday. Yes, I mean if we can get him in the later rounds, that would be great. That's defense. That's what I'm talking about, and that's the kind of chance you need to take, right? You need to take chances like that. That guy is a big guy. He's athletic. He's more athletic than people would think being that big. They probably wanted to more two teams use successful on a consistent basis. Yeah, you talking about the push tush? Yeah, they probably won't get rid of it. I agree with that. Um, I don't care what Terry does. Just bring in the 400 pound of Florida. You really like Watson? There you go. And like I said, he has opportunity to be there because he won't be picked in the first round. We know that, right? Because he's just going to be a 2-down player right now. So you might be able to get him in the later rounds. I do agree with you on that. Ricondo, you're right. We need defense and infusion, a D tackle, safety, cornerback, linebacker, the draft with hopefully 2 defensive starters. Exactly. First and second round, 100%. Like whatever you do, I don't care what position. I agree with you 100%. I don't care if it's an edge, D tackle, safety, cornerback, linebacker. Hey, let's get 2 starters. I agree with you. I'm trying. I'm me and you on the same page here. Let's do it. Let's get this junk right. Um, he's too big for us to overlook. Literally, yeah. Chat why did Darley sit for most of the season? Because the Atlanta Falcons kept 8 defensive linemen, and it was a numbers game, right? When you put your 4 roster for game day up there, somebody's gonna be the odd man out. So, they had a lot of veterans, of the 8 men they kept. You got to think about Eddie Goldman, Grady Jarrett, Contavious Street, Taquan Graham, Zach Harrison, Ruko Roro, David Amanyata, right? All those guys active. Guy like Brandon Dorless, rookie, is probably going to be inactive, but he will be active this year. So he's going to get his opportunity, and we're going to see what he's all about. We don't have a lot of film on him because he didn't play a lot last year. So the development, hopefully he has improved, right? Hopefully the things that we don't see right now is where they're working on their craft, getting ready, right? Because we saw Grady getting it in, right? We know Grady was going to be ready. These guys got to be on that same kind of mindset. Because he don't know how to use them yet. Man, hopefully, man. We're going to see what's going to happen. He said thoughts on Rondale Moore. Yeah, he signed with another team. I wish we could have kept him. He had a really good chemistry with Michael Penix Jr. So that's unfortunate that he did sign with another team. But if you guys look at my last mock draft, I went and picked Arian Smith, right? And that guy is a straight up burner. That's what he does, right? He got catching issues. I understand. That's why I picked him in the 7th round. But if you can get a guy like that, and they talked about Michael Penix, throwing 14% of his passes 20 yards or more in just 3 games. So he's going to throw the ball downfield because he has that arm talent to do it. We need the players to let him be able to do that, right? And right now, besides Darnell Mooney, great Drake can do it every now and then, but with Drake is just probably one of the best possession receivers in the league, right? Kyle Pitts could be that guy on the seams, right? Those seams route, we saw it last year with Kirk Cousins hit him 2 times in the Tampa game, right? So Kyle Pitts could be that guy, picking mismatches, the seam route, throwing down the field. But in my opinion, Atlanta Falcons need a burner. They really do, because we want to be able to utilize. So losing Rondale Moore was huge in my opinion, especially the chemistry he had built with Kyle Pitts. So that really is going to be something to think about. Starks will be a starter day 1. Oh yeah, they give Malachi Starks, and see, I know we just got Jordan Fuller, but in my opinion, Malachi Stark, he played a lot of nickel in college. I know he's more of a safety guy, but his athletic ability, he can play that nickel position, and him on the field with AJ, with Jesse, with Fuller, with Hughes, I would like that. And I don't know what vision they see for him, but I can tell you that Jeff Albrecht loved him a lot. We heard him when we looked at the video. He had a lot. So if he's still on the board, and their top edge rusher is not on the board when they get ready to pick, don't reach for him. Pick the best player available. Like I said, a defensive back is not a bad pick here, number 15, because they still need defensive backs, right? We still don't know who our nickel is, right? I know everybody like Clark Phillips. I do too. But at the same time, right, you want to bring that competition in. So I would definitely got Malachi Starks. Rondale Moore might not make the team because he can't stay healthy. Yeah, he already signed with another team. I forget which team it was, but Rondale Moore already signed with another team, so he's not even available for us anyway. So I forget which team he assigned with. Andre Matabuke from Texas, is he coming out? Yes, he is, but he won't be available for the Falcons unless they take him early in the draft, and they don't need to do that. So yes, he's coming out. I think he's one of the receivers coming out. Yes, that guy. Yeah, he's a burner. Yep. With Starks, we can play that big nickel. Exactly. I love it, man. You look at what the safety from Detroit, the young safety from Detroit, how well he plays. That's the kind of role I see Malachi Stark, Malachi Starks playing, right? His freshman year, right? You guys go back that first game against Oregon, how he just looked like a natural out there right away, and they kind of put him all over the place, the last couple of years, but you still see the flashes of how talented he was, right? But this is where Raheem Morris and Jerry Gray and all those guys find a role in how they division they see playing Malachi Starks. And I would not be surprised. Now, this one of the picks where I would not be upset at all if they pick Malachi Starks, right? I wouldn't be upset they picked Will Johnson here, right? At number 15, right? Instead of a pass rusher. Yes, we need pass rusher, but I think they still better get a pass rusher at 46. So pick the best player available. If your pass rusher not there, if Jalen Walker gone, if it's Michael Williams gone, Mike Green's gone, and those are guys you want, Shamar Stewart gone, those guys that you had up there top, and all those guys are off the board. Don't reach. Go and get you one of those defensive backs, either Will Johnson or Malachi Starks, and then we'll regroup in the second round and get us a pass rusher, because it's still going to be something available in the second round as well. So that's the way I'm looking at it. So that's what I like. That's definitely what I like. But guys, there you have it. There you have it. I really believe that the Atlanta Falcons need to go defense. We talked about it so much. And if they do, it's going to be really great for us. So let's see what they do, man. Let's see what they do. Don't shock the world again and take, because I'm telling you right now, man, if they take an offensive player, I can't defend them anymore. I'm sorry. I just can't. Because I can't explain it. I can explain last year pick or Michael Penix. I can even explain Drake London. I can explain Bijan Robinson. I can even explain Kyle Pitts, man, because he's supposed to be a unicorn. I can explain those picks. But to pick an offensive player in this draft would be crazy, man. in number 15 would be, because I don't see an offensive player that would help the Atlanta Falcons this year, right? I just don't see it. So that's where I'm at. I hope you guys feel the same way about it. And we got 22 more days. Today's the 2nd. We got 22 more days, and then we'll be ready to talk to see what these guys get to do. So there you have it, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Like I said, we're gonna break down some of these guys they talked to on the 30 visits, and do a little bit more breakdown of those guys and see. Can you imagine Atlanta Falcons picking some of those guys? Try to go to the 4th round or maybe the 2nd round. We're not gonna talk about first round picks, because those, like the ones that's been chalked so many times to the Atlanta Falcons, but it's getting harder when you start getting later rounds, because you don't know who's still going to be on the board at the time. But you kind of get an idea when you look at the guys they talk to on their 30 visits and stuff like that, and you kind of figure out, guys like Terry Amos from Ole Miss, right? Cornerback like that could definitely be a later round pick. Like maybe I think he won't get out of day 2 though. Be honest with you. So, but we'll just have to see where the Atlanta Falcons go on draft night. And we're definitely going to talk about some sleeper guys. So be on the lookout for that in these next 22 days. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.